Kevin James built from 270 pounds to 190 pounds. I told you that I was going to run the numbers today, and I'm going to. Is it possible for this man to go from what you see there on the left? I'm going to zoom in a little more here. Go from what you see on the left, 270 pounds at 40% body fat, down to 190 pounds and 15% body fat. Is it possible? The answer is yes. Is it profitable for most people? No, but it's very possible if people just discipline themselves and stick with the plan that works. But I'm going to run the numbers so you guys can see for yourself, show you the exact numbers, how I get to this. And I do it all on my fat loss reality calculator. If you want to know about that, you just click on the show notes below. It's going to say on YouTube, it's going to say the fat loss reality calculator. That way you can see exactly how I did it, and you can put your numbers in there. You just got to be honest with yourself whenever you do it. So I'm going to go to the fat loss reality calculator right now. Here it is. Fat loss reality calculator. This is the most amazing tool I've ever seen. I made it myself. I built it myself, and I expect people to use it because most people are not practical when it comes to the results they expect in the period of time they want to accomplish it. Everybody wants to be fit, and if they don't, they're crazy. Everybody wants to be in good shape. And if they don't want to be in good shape, I question their sanity. So, as you see from this fat loss reality calculator, you can put in male or female. It says everything. I'm going to read over it with you, though. We're going to go over it line by line, and we're going to put the numbers in to show how Kevin James can go from 270 pounds to 190 pounds and see how long it takes. We'll do it together. Here it is. Back on my fat loss reality calculator. Once again, you can run your numbers. Just click on the link in the show notes, the fat loss reality calculator. Okay. Most people don't have a fat loss problem. They have a reality problem. So true. Expectation minus reality is conflict. You don't need another diet. You need to get honest about where you actually are. So what I tell people to do, hey, look in the mirror, and the mirror lies. So instead of looking in the mirror, take a picture of yourself and then look at it. Most people never want to take a picture of themselves because that's a hard one. You look at yourself in a picture and it's like, oh man, I don't like looking at pictures of myself unless I'm really ripped. And then I still critique myself like crazy, but have an honest baseline. So take a photo of yourself. And then if you're still unsure of what you really look like, ask someone who would tell you the truth. Ask somebody under 10. Actually, ask a teenager. They love to dash the dreams of anybody that's older than them. Particularly if you're in your 30s and your 40s, a teenager would love to tell you what they think. And they'll be honest with you. Your peer might not be, but you ask a teenager and they're going to tell you you're fat because they've never gained weight. Wait until they get, I can't wait till the teenagers get my age. That way I can tell them, hey, look at what you've done with your life. No, actually, I wish him nothing but the best. Okay, so for Kevin James, I said he was roughly about 40% body fat. So we just click on this 31 to 40%. So you choose your condition. So male, he's about 40%. So 31 to 49%. So I'm going to click on that. Gives you ranges because that's actually kind of hard to determine what body fat is. But this is going to give you a range. Okay, so I'm going to say 270 pounds. His goal weight is 190. If you look at the Instagram picture, actually, I'll show you again. It tells you right here from 270 to 190, 15% body fat. So we're going to go back there. So put 190. I'm going to do the strange sculpting plan. But what's the difference between the strange sculpting plan and typical dieting? Both outcomes are going to be shown below, so you'll be able to see them. The highlight model controls a projection table. There's a projection table at the bottom, and it shows you exactly how I came up with these numbers. So you'll find out, hey, you can say, man, that's crackpot. So if somebody tells you there's no way this can happen, it can happen. Results don't lie, people do. And so whenever people don't obtain the results in the time frame that I say or the coach says, somebody's not telling the whole truth. And they might not be really lying, but labels lie. A lot of stuff lies. You got to be really honest about everything you do whenever you're having a transformation. So I'm going to do the strange sculpting plan, and it's going to show you both outcomes. It says choose your pace. Pick the pace you're actually willing to execute consistently. Your pace reflects the discipline not your wishes. Everybody always has high expectations of the results they want and low expectations of what it takes to get there. I will tell you this: it says conservative, slow pace, better when your consistency is not yet built. Recommended, strong, realistic, and sustainable for most disciplined people. The key is discipline. Americans aren't disciplined. You can tell by their waistline. Go to Walmart and you can say most people aren't disciplined. So I think recommended isn't, I don't even recommend recommended, even though I have it on there. That's for people who really are consistent. And then aggressive is somebody like your David Goggins or the unicorn. That rules out about 99% of the population. But I want to show you what is possible, and it is possible, but it's not. I would never go an aggressive goal. I would go to recommended conservative for me, myself, probably conservative because it takes consistency and discipline no matter what. So I'm going to hit conservative. And what you'll find whenever you see this projection, well, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to show you guys live. What projection assumes? A projection only works if you execute. Miss consistency and the timeline breaks. That's the key. If you miss consistency, if you're messing up a lot, the more you mess up, the more a higher possibility of you're not going to reach that goal. And you're not going to reach it first of all on the timeline. You probably will never reach it. Also, I'll say this. I don't really care about the timeline. I care about the goal. And so if you don't hit your goal, just continue. The Bible says a righteous man falls 7 times and rises again. And so if you fall, get back up. Don't be stupid. Okay. This calculation isn't to beat you up. Just what is it? The success is just making more right decisions, wrong decisions. Okay. So typical dieting, smaller, softer, and frustrated. A projected goal at the end of the timeline is 19 to 21% body fat. You won't see your abs there for sure. And projected timeline, 38 to 48 weeks. Muscle change, lost 10 pounds of muscle. Discipline requires 63 out of 100. I think it's more than that, but in reality, that's what it should be, about 63%. Okay, strength sculpting plan, leaner, harder, more structured. As you can see, the projected timeline for typical dieting, just to get in calorie restricted, it happens faster because you're cannibalizing muscle mass. And whenever you start burning muscle mass, your body wants to burn muscle mass. And so you look at the body fat, 19.2 to the strength sculpting plan, 12.9. For a man, anything around under 15% body fat, you start seeing the abs. And so you're going to see abs here. Now, the common denominator is if you're 270 pounds, if you look like this fellow right here, Kevin James at 270 pounds, you could have some loose skin. So you might not look exactly like that, but don't worry about that. The people who worry about loose skin, just lose the weight. God can't steer a parked car. So once you get to the destination, you get the body you want, have it cut off. Opportunity will present itself to get what you want if you're just disciplined and diligent. People love disciplined people. So, and people who stick with it. And so you're going to get that. If you can get from here to here, then you have maintain this muscle mass. You can get rid of that skin somehow. If you do have skin, some people don't. Some people have very good elasticity. And so the longer you hold the body fat, the more likely you're going to have that elasticity issues. And then you're going to need surgery at the end to make yourself look as that tight looking Kevin James. Got it? Back to the strength sculpting calculator here. So projected timeline, 41 to 51 weeks compared to the typical dieting, which is 38 to 48 weeks. I don't lie. I actually say my way takes longer, but my way you look better because why? Muscle change. On the typical dieting, you lose about 10 pounds of muscle. On my plan, you lose 1.6 or you gain 1.6 pounds of muscle. And you could throw this in a few other calculators and you could find out that's very conservative as far as gaining muscle mass. You could gain more than that time frame because you're not in you're in a calorie deficit for sure, but you're not in a body fat percentage so low that's prohibiting you to build while you're actually losing fat. Whenever you get below that 15%, that's whenever it's hard to maintain muscle mass as you get leaner. So muscle mass, you gain muscle mass, discipline requires 73 out of 100. And it kind of goes over the same plan. What's really cool about this, I'll show you down at the bottom. the projected timeline to finish. It actually tells you. So today is June the 22nd, 2026. If you started today, April the 4th, which is my wife's birthday, by the way, if you want to give her a present, that's great. April the 4th to June 13th, 2027 is the projected finish window. Why don't I give you that projected finish window? Because you might be on a higher range of body fat. I go from 31 to 49% on here. So if you're in a higher body fat percentage, it's going to take you a little bit longer. If you see these buckets I put people in, it's bigger right here because these are unicorns. People that go from here to 15% body fat are very rare. From 35 is probably, that's about at 35% is very feasible to get down there. And even though it is very feasible from 40, if you're disciplined, but in the bucket, that's the reason why this range is pretty far. It's pretty from April the 4th, June 13th. But that also gives you a realistic timeline. If you do hit between those dates, you're gold. Okay, so it says 12.9 to 14% body fat at the end. That's 14.9% body fat at the end if you're compliant. Starting lean mass 162 pounds, projected lean mass 163.6. We scroll down, it's got the information laid out there again. If you do a normal diet, you lose 10 pounds of muscle. If you do the straight Sculpting plan, you gain 1.6 at least. You actually gain about 12% or 12 pounds of muscle. That's great. And you're leaner at the same time. You're 6.3% leaner. The typical diet, you're 20%, and mine, you're 14%, which is 13.9, rounding up to 14. That's whenever you can actually see your abs. Six-pack abs at 14% body fat. And you have 38 pounds of muscle, fat left on your body, normal dieting, 26.4 with the strength Sculpting plan. But I'm going to scroll down here and show you why it's not only feasible, but it's very accurate and very doable if you commit to the plan. The problem is the weekends, the birthdays, Christmas, vacations, all that kind of stuff. Anytime you do those, it pushes the timeline further away. All indiscretions and people are like, I'm not doing that bad. Yeah, you could lose on the weekend. You could lose a week. And so you could have a calorie deficit all week long, 5 days. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you could blow your calorie deficit and actually have a surplus and gain weight. And that's what most Americans do. We're in a time frame where it's easy to get fat because calories are cheap and everything is addicting and tastes really good. I mean, you can get so many calories. I mean, we are a blessed land. The United States of America is the only place in the world where the poor people are fat. But here we go. And here's the date and timeline. It goes you week by week, and it gives you the rate used. This is how whenever somebody says, there's no way this is possible, or they say it's not possible or it's impractical. What's funny is if I told somebody, they're only going to lose 2 pounds a week or 2.8 pounds a week at 270 pounds, they're like, that's not enough. But this shows you how consistency wins. So at the very beginning, I used a rate of 1.02. This is conservative. On the conservative, you lose 2.8 pounds of fat the first week. And so it tells you your start at the beginning of the week and the end of the week. It tells your estimated body fat percentage, your lean gain change, everything on here. And as you can see, to show you how I made it realistic, the rate used started at 1.2. By week 2, I've already cut it down to 0.8%, 0.89%. So you multiply your weight times 0.89, and that's going to tell you 0.089. That's what's going to tell you your how fast you can lose it. So anything above 1% of your body weight is high. So I got 1.2%, or not high. It's that's like you're really doing it. So based upon a conservative ideology, I go to 0.89. And then as you can see, as I scroll down, by week 18, I get even a lesser metric, 0.81. 0.81% of your weight you're losing. And then you scroll down here even further, by week 26, 0.72. So you go from 1.8 pounds fat loss to 1.5 pounds fat loss. And you keep scrolling down, you can see by the 37th week, we're at 0.61. You keep going down. By the end of this, by the 44th week, you're losing just half a percent of your body weight, 0.49% of your body weight a week. So zero point 0.9, not even a pound a week before the end of this. That's why this is possible and probable if you're consistent. Now I'm going to show you something else. How possible, how it's if for a David Goggins, somebody who's an athlete, who's willing to be the most aggressive person on the planet to hit the numbers, you can do it. You can do it faster. So I'm going to calculate the projection for aggressive. Calculate projection. This is like somebody who's a unicorn who's like, I'm going to run, I'm going to do 50,000 or 20,000 steps a day. I'm going to work out 6 days a week, and I'm going to hit those macronutrients perfectly and hit the calorie intake perfectly every single day. They could get it done for typical diet. They get it done in 28 to 36 weeks. For somebody in the strength sculpting plan where I am literally killing you, well, not literally. You're really going at it. You would lose 30. It'd take you 31 to 39 weeks to lose that weight. How much weight was it? 2.3 pounds projected fat loss weekly. You go from 40% body fat to 12.1, starting lean mass 162, projected lean mass 165. You actually gain 3.1 pounds. So you lose 83 pounds of fat in 31 to 39 weeks. You keep scrolling down and it tells you discipline demand rating 90%. I think that's closer to 99%. But still, it's extreme discipline to get there. What you want to do, you want to put your name in there, and then you want your email address and send you your results. That way you can see all this stuff. But I'm going to go right here as far as the projected weekly assumptions. You see the rate I use. Anything over 1% is pretty aggressive, 1.3 pounds or 1.35. But whenever you look at the weight loss, 3.6 pounds. Everybody, the girl that you know that weighs 150 pounds, who's 5'5", says if she only loses if she don't lose 5 pounds a week, they think, I'm not losing weight. No, that's not the case. For her, it's probably less than a pound a week. That's what she would lose. And we'll run those numbers maybe next time I do a live like this. But if you look down here, it tells you the rate used. This is aggressive, keeps going down. As you can see, 1.9, it starts out at 1.35, and then it keeps going down. Before the end of it, you're not even at 1% of your body weight by week 19. You're not going to be losing 1% of your body fat. The rate is 0.98. And then you keep going down. Before it's over, you're losing a little more than half a percentage of your body weight every week, 0.67. So this shows you how it's possible. It's only probable if you discipline yourself. If you have a hard time disciplining yourself, I do coach. What you want to do, if you want this aggressive thing, you start out with a 40-day fix. Click here to start the 40-day fix now. It's in a very extreme plan, but it's actually the foundation of fat loss, the foundation of nutrition. Most people don't start with the right macronutrients. On the 40-day fix intensive, you work with me one-on-one every day for 40 days. We are in some kind of communication to make sure you're adhering to the program. It's very strict. It's not for the light-hearted, but that would be the aggressiveness that you need to actually to lose that much weight that quickly. And that would be, if you couldn't do the 40-day fix, you probably couldn't even do the conservative fat loss if you can't do the 40-day fix. I think the 40-day fix is essential because it's a reset. If you're pre-diabetic, probably get those numbers back to normal. I'm not going to promise you that. I'm not a doctor, but a lot of times, pre-diabetes can be reset if you get the right macronutrients that will make you more insulin sensitive and will bring those blood sugar levels down. If you're 270 pounds and you're 5'8", like Kevin James are, you're probably pre-diabetic. In fact, his doctor did a skit on it, which is hilarious. But click the 40-day fix, start the 40-day fix now, and you can fill out the form, join me, or you could just comment. You could comment or message me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and I'll get back with you. But I recommend that for sure. You can also fix your nutrition for free. Get the free macro cheat sheet. Everybody should click on this. You click on this. It's a no guesswork fat loss system. So simple. It's free. Everybody should do that for sure. Get that. But make sure you email yourself. Look at that. It reset everything. So I'm going to do this again. Click on this, calculate projection. But what you want to do is go down here, put your name in there, email it to you. That way, at least you get this, the breakdown, the weekly projections. That way you can mark it off every week. Mark off. If you are honest with what you do and you are disciplined, you can absolutely go from 270 pounds to 190 pounds and have abs. It's possible. I showed you the numbers. Also, listen to the Strange Sculpting podcast. You can click here. My last one was with this gal. Allie Taylor. Allie Taylor, she had like 2 back surgeries, titanium. They told her she would never, titanium screws put in her back. They told her she would never lift more than 5 pounds. And if you look, this was her before, after she just let it go. And for most women, that's not letting it go. That's what they love to look like her before. But she's not. She's different. She's a winner. And she's a disciplined person. So she went from here to here. And actually, she just sent me a message today that she deadlifted her body weight, which isn't, that's pretty good, but she deadlifted it with kettlebells. And it was at a deficit. And that's pretty impressive for somebody who said that you're not supposed to lift 5 pounds. Look at that back. By the way, so listen to my podcast and get all my free resources, please. So thank you so much for watching. Everything I talked about is in the show notes below. The calorie calculator, the fat loss calculator is in the show notes. You can run your numbers. Be honest with yourself. Like I said at the beginning, ask a teenager. They'll tell you the truth. They'll say, man, you're chubbier than what you think. And so hit this number. So they'll be honest with you that way. If you start out honest, you can end honest. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully that helped you. Make sure you get those free resources.